Hello again, people. We are back in western Nevada this week with some new property up in Lyon County. This one's a residential lot with a number of great attractions just right in its backyard, including the Carson River, the Lyon State Park. About 5 minutes away, you've got the town of Silver Springs, and about an hour west, you've got the lights and sights of Reno, Tahoe. This one's a 1-acre lot priced at $15,000. Learn all about it and more after the intro. So, normally when we do these videos, we like to start out in the larger region that the property is located in and then zoom in on the lot after we've had time to talk about all the nearby attractions and really all that surrounds the parcel on a county level. I wanted to do this property video a little differently, however, because as I think you'll see, there really is so much in the immediate vicinity of the parcel that it merits kind of starting with the land and zooming out. So, we'll get into the specifics in a bit, but for now, our subject property is located here along Magnolia Road, where you see the pin in the map. And if we pull back just a little bit, you'll see that the property sits in really walking distance of the Carson River. Now, I've seen some realtors refer to this little area right here as the 9th Street entrance to the river. I'm not sure what that means because it doesn't seem to be much of an entrance, but the point is, if you are one who enjoys doing some fishing, my understanding is that the river is full of large and smallmouth bass, channel and bullhead catfish, and is stocked annually with rainbow trout. Next, if we zoom back just a little bit more, you're going to see that the Carson River flows right up from the Lyon Reservoir, which itself is part of the Lyon State Recreation Area. Of course, out here you'll have plenty of opportunities not only for fishing, but also boating, camping, picnicking, and even hunting. Now, once again, as we return to the map, you'll see that the property is also just about 5 minutes outside of Silver Springs. Of course, this is a town that at the moment is no bigger than about 5,000 people, but being this close to it means that you'll have easy access to some groceries and supplies, as well as, of course, the ubiquitous casinos, in this case the Silver Strike and the Nugget. Of course, if we go back to the map and pull back just a little further, we will see that with the subject property located this close to Highway 50, it means that you are none too far from the town of Fallon, just about 20 minutes east in nearby Churchill County. And of course, Fallon's got a slightly larger population of about 8,000, as well as greater access to big box stores, fast food restaurants, medical services, and just more amenities in general. So whatever you can't get in Silver Springs, you can get with just a quick drive down the highway. And of course, if you use Highway 50 here to go in the opposite direction, you'll eventually find yourself in either the state capital of Carson City, itself roughly only 30 minutes from the subject property, or with a little zig and a zag, you'll end up in the Reno-Sparks metro area. And of course, the town of Reno doesn't need me to shill for them, but for the uninitiated in this area, you'll have access to plenty of great casinos, shows, dining, shopping, nightlife, spas, and don't even get me started on all the great skiing in nearby Tahoe. Now, the thing I really like about this property, aside from all the great towns and attractions that are so close to it, is that in recent years, Silver Springs is really becoming almost a bedroom community of Reno. Of course, as you can see here on the map, Reno isn't that far away, maybe a 40-minute drive time. But because housing prices have been going through the roof out here, there's a lot of people who can't buy a cardboard box unless they've got $500,000 to spend. So you're seeing a lot of growth in regions like Dayton and Stagecoach, and particularly this area here outside of Silver Springs. And I say particularly this area because if you look at the map just one more time, you're going to see what's in really close proximity to the land here, which is this tech corridor that is being built up right here, most notably with the presence of the Tesla Gigafactory. More than even that, however, you've got a bunch of fulfillment centers nearby for brands like Walmart, Home Depot, PetSmart, not to mention the 2 Amazon facilities they're building a little further up the road closer to Reno. And all this extra land and industrial space being built up around it, which will no doubt be attracting even more jobs in the near future. The point is, this area is growing rapidly, not only with jobs and industry, but with opportunity. And the parcel we're going to talk about today is located really right in the heart of all of that. So the property we're talking about today is part of the Carson River Acres subdivision. And while I would love, oh people I would love, to be able to tell you exactly where that sub starts and ends, the residential region we have circled on the map here seems to encompass about 40 different subdivisions, each, from what I can tell, is no more than a few blocks wide. That said, the whole area does seem to have the same parcel sizes, between 1 and 5 acres, and each falls largely under the same zoning regulations. Whatever the case, as noted earlier, our subject property sits over here, and from what's known as alternate US 95, you've got really a straight shot into this residential area here along 9th Street and out to the land. Now, it should be noted that there's a lot of paved roads throughout this region, such as 9th Street, which looks like this. The subject property, however, is located along Magnolia, which looks more like this. Point being, from the highway out to the property, it's mostly paved or well-maintained dirt gravel roads. The last really 1,000 feet out to the land, however, takes on this sort of dirt sand consistency. Next, when you're talking about development and when you're talking about utilities, as you can see on the map here, there's a fair amount of development throughout this region. Of course, for every home site you find, it seems to be surrounded by 2 vacant lots. Whatever the case, while there is power extending throughout most of the region, which again looks like this, the nearest power to the subject property is roughly about a half-mile north up here where Magnolia meets 8th Street. In fact, if you kind of eyeball Google Maps here, you can see that the few home sites that are close to the subject property seem to have solar panels either on their roofs or in their backyards. So this is all my way of saying that while Nevada Energy may be currently planning to extend power further throughout the sub, or while you can call and try to find out what it would cost to get connected to the grid, this parcel is more of what we like to call, quote, solar friendly. And you know, we've got some images of the neighboring homes which are taken from the subject property, so you can't see them too well. But if you look at a house like this one's located about 500 feet up the road along Magnolia, and looks like a pretty respectable little home. And that's all my way of saying that just because there may not be power lines out here, doesn't mean that there's any less pride of ownership amongst the neighbors. Additionally, guys, do want to point out, as you'll notice here from the photos, that the subject property does have boundary markers already in place, which of course is always a nice benefit because it means you should be able to save some money on getting a survey done. So something to keep in mind. Finally, people, it's also worth noting out here that as you can see in the photos, despite the overgrowth of some sagebrush and vegetation, this is a largely flat piece of land which, once you've done some of the requisite landscaping, should be pretty easy to park on, to build on, and ultimately to develop into your own sort of affordable home site, all within walking distance of the banks of the Carson River. All right, people, so with all that said, let's talk about zoning. First off, as noted, the Carson River Acre subdivision is not terribly well defined, so it should not be surprised that it has no HOA, no annual dues, and no time limits on building. For what it is worth, however, when the subdivision was first created, there were some very minor covenants and restrictions that were recorded with the county, and my suspicion is these have all been usurped or made irrelevant by zoning ordinances that have come since. But if you'd like to familiarize yourself with them, you can click this link right here and it will bring up this PDF which will show you these original CCRs. And the one I really want to direct your attention to illustrate my point is item number 3, which says, amongst other things, that a travel trailer or camper may be used while a residence is under construction for up to 300 days, or basically a whole year, and that a trailer, camper, or tent may be used as a residence on any parcel for a period not to exceed 4 months. So again, those feel like the kinds of things local zoning ordinances will either prohibit or restrict to, shall we say, less indulgent timelines. So with all this talk of zoning, let me direct your attention back here to the listing page where you can find a link to the local Lyon County zoning ordinance that covers this specific region. Now, this property is zoned rural residential, or more specifically RR3T, rural residential, 3rd district. And this PDF we have here has the unusual distinction of being both overwritten and not terribly informative. So here's my 2 best recommendations for anyone with plans to develop a property like this. First, drive up and down the streets out here, take a look at what the nearby homes look like. This will give you the best sense of what's allowed in this region. Obviously, SFRs are allowed, mobile homes, modular homes, etc. It's usually also safe to guess that a shipping container built up to code would be acceptable here. The zoning dictates the structures can't be taller than 35 feet, so you may even be able to build one of those barn dominiums that are becoming so popular, so long as it doesn't exceed that height. Point being, a little common sense goes a long way on this sort of thing. Now, my second tip, as always, people, is to call the Lyon County Zoning Office directly, as they will always know more about this sort of thing than we do. Now, one quick thing I want to point out here, this PDF talks a lot about needing at least 5 acres of land to build. This property is only 1 acre. That said, when you look around the entire region, including the neighboring homes, all you find out here are 1 acre lots. Every structure, or most every structure built out here, has only 1 acre of land. So my best guess is the subdivision existed before the zoning, and the subdivision was sort of grandfathered in, meaning building is acceptable under some sort of redesignation that comes with the building permit. Something like planned unit development is, I think, how these things normally get recategorized. But as noted, guys, I am not the expert. And if you have questions about that or you'd like some clarification, reach out to the county. They will always be more knowledgeable about exactly how that sort of thing works. That said, if you do want to build a home site on this 1 acre parcel, you will likely face little resistance. So with all that said, if you would like to purchase this property, you'll be glad to know we closed on it and received title insurance through Toyabe Title Company, which means we will be conveying it to you with clear and marketable title. So just come up here to the top of the page, click the Buy Now button, which will take you to this secure checkout, where we ask for a non-refundable, people, let me say it again, non-refundable $500 earnest money deposit. Now, to be clear, guys, this is not a property that has any financing offered. This is not a property where we're doing monthly payments. This is a property where we expect you to have the entire cash price. So if you do not have the entire cash price, you should not initiate this transaction. For those of you who do, however, here's the way it works. Come down here, give us the name for the deed, name for the contract, your mailing address. Then at the bottom of the page, agree to the terms of service, click Next, and on the very next page, you can enter credit or debit card information to place the $500 deposit. Now, to be clear, guys, this is an expensive property. Really, anything north of $10,000, we encourage our buyers to close through a title company on. Of course, you don't have to do that. Nobody's got a gun to your head. It's up to you. But when you're spending this kind of money, we recommend getting title insurance. And of course, one of the major benefits here for you, the buyer, is that with a title company, you've got a third-party intermediary who is not only handling the conveyance of the property, but also the disbursement of funds, meaning we cannot touch your money until such a time as the property has been deeded into your name. Now, if you're unfamiliar with how that whole process works, you'll be glad to know that on the listing page, we've got this helpful Notes About Purchasing, which goes into a little more detail here. But more helpfully, it links you to some pages on the website, which will go into even greater detail about this process. The first page is called How It Works Buying From Us. And if you go here, you can see exactly how this process plays out. Step 1, you place that deposit. Step 2, we're going to draft a contract. You sign it, we sign it. And step 3, the title company will do the rest, albeit slowly and over the period of about a month. And in case you're at all skeptical about placing money before seeing the contract you'll be asked to sign, you'll be glad to know we have a copy of our standard sale purchase agreement right here. You can click that and read through a generic version of what that contract looks like. It's a pretty easy contract, one page for signatures. If you got a lawyer in the family, have them give it a look-see, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Additionally, guys, if you haven't been through the title escrow process before, you're probably going to have a lot of questions about it. You'll be glad to know we have a page on our website entitled Title Escrow Frequently Asked Questions page. So if you click on that, it'll take you to this page where pretty much every conceivable question we have ever gotten from a buyer or will ever get from a buyer is answered here. Questions about benefits, questions about potential drawbacks, timeline, schedule, logistics, so on and so forth. So we encourage you, give that a read. So in conclusion, people, been trying for a while to get land in this region, and I'm really glad to finally have some property out here in an area so close to not only Lake Lahontan and the Carson River, but all the great towns and attractions that kind of surround this area. Additionally, very pleased to be offering land in one of the fastest growing parts of the state with a lot of job growth and general expansion, causing this to be a property not only ideal for development, but also for investment. I really like this one. I hope you guys do too. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and we will see you in the next video.